Hi there, Matt from the SiteShed podcast here. I'm really looking forward to our upcoming conversation. The purpose of this call is to run you through the episode framework that you are required to put a few notes down and add your details to, so that come the time that we sit down and do our recording, I'm prepared, you're prepared, we've got a list of things that we're going to cover off on, and we can hit the ground running. The reason that we do this is because if I don't have some guidance as to what the conversation is going to look like throughout the podcast recording, it typically means that we end up going off on tangents and we don't cover off on the important things. So the purpose of these documents is to primarily for you to jot down a few key notes so I can prompt you and I can keep you on track. And obviously, this is your topic. You're the expert, and I want you to treat this as your podcast. You know a lot more about this than I do. So by giving us a few questions and a few things that we're going to discuss throughout the podcast, it means that I can ask the right questions and essentially keep us both on track throughout the recording. So there's a couple of different, there's three different frameworks that we run with at the moment, and depending on what your podcast is going to be, it will depend on which document you are being sent. Now, it's important to note at this stage that if you have not yet been sent this document, please send an email to interviews@thesiteshed.com. Let us know that you have not yet received your episode framework, and we will definitely send that out as soon as possible. The sooner that this gets populated, the better. So I'm going to run you through the different frameworks right now, and if you bear with me while I just reduce my gigantic head. So you'll see we've got three here. There's a series framework. A series framework is typically conducive to a podcast topic that's been broken into chapters. If that's you, fantastic. There's a single episode podcast, so that obviously speaks to just one topic that we're going to be covering. And then there's a success story, which would typically speak to us talking about somebody's journeys, wins they've had within their industry, so on and so forth. So I'll just jump into these quickly. They're all quite simple. They're all very similar. You can see here at the top here, there's some information which you can put down, which is your name, your co-host, where you're from, and then what your website is, if you've got an @handle for social, and then obviously the best contact email for people that may want to reach out to you after listening to the podcast. Don't worry about the admin side of things. That's for our team. Some intro things here. If you want to put down some topical, like some things that we're going to be covering, some pain points we might be addressing, and some takeaways. So what are some of the things that you're going to be learning in this podcast? And then if you have like a typical intro, or if you want to talk about anything specific in terms of awards, or if you've published books or anything like that, you can jot those down in there as well. There's some prompters here. This is obviously for the Success Story podcast. These, you don't really have to do anything here. This is just some information to give you some guidance as to what some of the questions that I may ask you. So if you want to use these as some ideas, as just so you're prepared, then so be it. When we jump in more into the podcast series and the single episode framework, you'll notice it's a little bit different in structure. So importantly, again, all this stuff at the top is important. However, you may have a lead magnet, an ebook, or a PDF, or something you might want to leave behind. Again, all the rest of this stuff we've just already covered, but then here you'll notice that it's prompting for more specific things, okay? So who's it directed at? So you might want to it might be directed at business owners, it could be staff, employees, it could be contractors, whatever. What are the key things that we're going to discuss here? Again, just some bullet points. You don't have to go overboard with this. This is so I can prompt you. What are some of the major problems that we're trying to overcome today? Again, what are the pain points we're trying to address in this specific episode? How do these relate to trade businesses? So again, you can follow this, but just jot down some bullet points. That's all you really need. You don't need to overthink about it too much. If there's any sort of references you'd like to leave behind, by all means, you can do that also, okay? As we jump into the series framework, again, very much the same, except at the top here, what are you going to call the series, or what would you like it called? And what are the episodes with breakdowns of what we're going to be doing? And then again, as we jump down here, it's very similar to the last sheet. However, this one here is going to be talking specifically about this podcast. So what's the name of it? And then same questions again. And then as you scroll down, episode 2, what's the name of episode 2, and then again, just jot down some bullet points to keep us on track. And then again, episode 3, if there's 3 episodes, jot down some bullet points, keep us on track. Same old, same old. It's pretty straightforward. The reason we use Google Docs is it's collaborative, so you can fill this information into this document and I can see it at my end and we can both collaborate on it, which is really important, especially for our editing team. So they'll take this information and they'll apply it to your podcast webpage and the framework for that. So that's all, guys. If you're having any issues with this or you don't receive it, interviews@thesiteshed.com. Let us know. We'll get it out to you. Likely you will receive this, though. You should definitely receive this based on when you've completed the form. It's really important that you do this, guys. If you do not complete this form, your podcast will not happen. We'll cancel it, and we'll have to postpone it or something. It's really important that we have this information just to save from wasting everybody's time. So again, guys, please complete these forms. Let me know if you have any problems, and I look forward to chatting to you on our upcoming podcast or podcasts. Ciao.